Sheikh Mahdi, my elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. My gratitude to the EC for allowing me this time slot to speak to you about something that a lot of you may have heard me talking quite passionately about. But before we get there, a bit of an icebreaker. If I were to ask you in this audience now, and don't worry, the ladies are being counted too, how many of you would invest in a scheme that generated a 4,000% return? Don't be shy, 4,000% return. How many of you would invest in it? Only 2 takers, 3, 4. There's no entry level here. Doesn't matter how much you invest, the return is at 4,000%. Like, let's play it another way. Is anyone not want to invest in this scheme? That's a little better. The next question I want to ask you is how many of you would like to give me $1,000 to help transform the life of a widow in Karbala and her orphan children? That's where I thought I'd be. This is why I'd like to present to you Mothernomics from the LFT. So a little bit more about the Lady Fatima Charitable Trust. It was registered in 1997 and has operated since then. Operates in 16 countries. Its main objective is to overcome the causes for which poverty exists. Enablers to overcome poverty in the countries in which it operates. The main areas we operate in are education, healthcare, microfinance, and access to water. So what exactly is Mothernomics? Mothernomics was something that we set up about a year ago, and its main objective was to end the cause of poverty for widowed mothers in Karbala. About 250,000 widowed women in Karbala, majority of whom received some kind of stipend, either from the government, the Awqaf institutions there, well-meaning charities, the Maraja, but some form of handout that is not dignifying. All they're doing is going to collect a sum of money every month and trying to make their ends meet out of that meager sum of money. So where are we on Mothernomics? I'll tell you a bit more about the scheme, but it's now on its 3rd batch of graduates. 2 work streams so far, tailoring and beauty treatments, and a steady income stream already being generated. These graduates are doing business worth between $1,200 and $1,500 each per month and earning between $350 and $550 each per month. Compare that to between $120 and $300 that they would get on subsidies. If they're on a government pension, maybe a little more, but typically each child that is sponsored by an orphan organization would want to give that child between $30 and $70 or $80 if they're in tertiary education. Soon we will start in Najaf, inshallah, after the end of the month of Ramadan. Ayatollah Bashir Najafi's office is extremely supportive of this, and quite embarrassingly at the LFT, we're being driven to do this by him rather than being the ones that are driving it. So we will soon initiate the program, launch this program in Najaf too. We've also implemented in Gaza with a few tweaks. There it is the children, the mothers of children who have long-term illnesses in hospitals, and also in Sindh, where it's in rural, the Thar Desert, in the rural parts of Pakistan. So a bit more, what is Mothernomics? Those of you who know me, and a lot of you have known me for a long time, I'm a very simple-minded person. I can only cope with simple. We've broken this down into 6 basic steps. The first objective here is to address the mindset of the person. We are dealing with a widowed mother who has been widowed in fairly tragic circumstances. It could have been under Saddam's regime, it could have been during the Iran-Iraq war, it could be during the Kuwait invasion, it could be just as a result of Daesh and the recent terror attacks, or it could be poor access to healthcare facilities, cancer, heart treatments, couldn't afford it, father dies quite young, and leaves a young family to cope with. The mother is undergoing trauma, has her own mental health issues, is trying to raise a family in abject poverty. So it is and has a low base level of education herself. So it is under that backdrop that Mothernomics is operating. What do we then do? Having gone through a 2-week program where we understand her psyche and try and bring her up to understand that tomorrow does not need to be as bad as today and yesterday were. There is a brighter future. They then select from a number of courses that are available in the local training institutes. We intentionally did not go out there and build new training institutes. There were good training institutes out there with decent trainers. All we did was revamp the curriculum, because the curriculum was teaching them skills that were not going to be very beneficial to them. So complete rewrite of the curriculum and subsidizing the training institutes there has been far more effective, because the end result is then we get a qualification that is recognized in Iraq. So these mothers, after regular testing and examination, when they graduate and get the certificate from the training institute, it is issued with the LFT on one side, but the Ministry of Labor in Iraq on the other. So if she doesn't buy into the rest of the scheme, she can walk into any institution that needs her services with a recognized qualification. After the graduation, she gets a ready-made pack of equipment that she will need to run her own business. If it's a sewing, if it's in tailoring, it's a sewing machine, the scissors, cloth for what she's going to sew, and that whole package is put together, delivered to her. If it's a salon, again, a home-based salon for beauty treatment, for her to be able to treat her customers in the home environment, which is far more effective in the cultural environment for women to be working from home with young families to look after. The branding and marketing is taken over by the LFT. We market the products under the MOM brand name, but it also quality assures customers. So when customers order entire school worths of uniforms, entire hotels worth of bed linen, they know they will not get a single defective product, because it's been quality assessed at 3 levels, and they're buying into a brand at the best quality at a market-beating price. And the final thing is the women repay. At the moment, as I stand in front of you, the repayment schedule is ahead of program. They've only been doing this business for 3 to 4 months, but they're earning beyond what they expected to and are coming forward and saying, please take some more. I want to own this equipment earlier than I otherwise would. And there's further expansion in the case of one mother who's actually asked for a loan to build her own workshop so she can employ more people within it. That's the MOM brand name. What does this allow them to do? It allows them to earn with dignity. Rather than scraping on subsidies and having an undignified existence, this is now self-worth and self-pride in what they do. We've seen a noticeable transformation in the mental health of the mothers who are on this program, as well as their children. Mummy is not working like a widow anymore, wearing black, not going out to public places. She's a businesswoman. She's fulfilling orders that are generated through MOM and going out there and doing her own canvassing to do that as well. There's a lovely support network that's building among these mothers. They attend each other's children's parties now. If they have any mentoring needs, 3 of the mothers on this scheme are mentors. They're also quality assessors. So the entire makeup of someone saying, I've got nothing to look forward to in life, I wear black, my occupation on my official document says widow, has now transformed to these women going out there and applying to put businesswoman on their official documentation. It increases the aspiration in children. We're trying to build this correlation and see how educational performance in the orphan children has grown, because mom's aspiration is now completely different to what it was before. She's now been through some form of education, albeit in vocational training, so the children are getting far better mentoring in the home environment. And we've shown in 3 months that 66% of the women that took part in the program are covering their household expenses. 66% in 4 months are now earning enough to run their household with no issue whatsoever. and can now make decisions on their own nutritional value, on the educational input they want for their children, on their own aspirations for the future, based on participation in the scheme just 3 months on. Predominantly, all of them are home-based. The supply network collects their finished products from home, and then they go through the first level of quality assurance before being delivered, professionally packaged to the customers. Just want to share some survey results with you and then conclude on one testimonial. The survey results that we have, mothers who participate in this scheme tend to be between 23 and 47 years old, which is about 80% of those that were sponsored by the LFT before. Less than 10% of them had even been to school before. And 10% of that cohort actually went on to tertiary education. The majority of them had an intermediate level of education, primary, a bit of secondary, but the aspirations of the children are now far higher. The children are now looking forward to at least secondary and possibly tertiary education. The mothers would have typically got married between 13 and 16 years old, and that's what the beginning of their life was, to tragically end when their husbands' lives were taken. All have children, between 1 and 6 children of school age, and what we found really powerful is that 33% of them have other siblings, a mother or a daughter whom they've introduced onto the scheme, saying, it's so good, you've got to join it too. And the final statistic is all respondents said that they would not better the offering that the Lady Fatima Trust gave this, and this was anonymized. It came as a slight surprise. We were looking for hints on how to improve the program, and the entire hints on how to improve the program came on how the training was being run, but the LFT support was very highly rated. So where next? 2 things. Widening the product lines. At the moment, we're operating at full capacity on only 2 product lines. We want to try and widen that a bit more. More training lines. Sewing and salon will have certain take-up. There are 22 courses available at the college. We want to buy into a little more of those. Different countries, 3 already operate there. We can go with a few more. Refining the recruitment process. It was a real hard sell for the first one, as you can imagine. A high attrition rate. Alhamdulillah, there's now a queue of people waiting to join. Automating the repayment process. Alhamdulillah, it's been quite efficient, but we just need to notch it up that 1 gear. And making the distribution network slicker. Because it's a home-based production line, getting it to the shops is something that we can do more of. The final one is more collaborative working. The Ataba Husseiniya in Karbala is very supportive. Anwar Najafiya in Najaf. But a lot of organizations who work in a similar field can work out. I'll beg 15 seconds of your time, if I may, Kumail, and say that one testimonial that I was really, really begged to read out was that of a mother who joined in November 2018, Saida. Given the opportunity to take part in the scheme of a new project, she was a little reluctant, didn't even turn up to the training programs on time, but when the examination time came up, she really notched up a gear. So much was promised to her, and yet no one had delivered. Why would this be any different? With convincing, she finally gave it her best shot. She graduated. During the course, she got more engaged and active. She felt proud of herself. After many years of feeling bad, 16 years of not taking off black clothes after her husband died. For the first time on graduation, she put on colored clothes again, turned up wearing makeup, and she was not recognized by her peers there because all she'd ever done after her husband died was wore black and stayed in the home environment. After successfully completing the course, Saida earned a sewing machine. Initially, she didn't do too well. She was a little behind because of family issues. Now, 5 months after receiving her machine, she's one of the top earners on the program. With resilience, she now comes in to monitor the quality control. She mentors other mothers to take part, and that has been the transformation of just one out of the Mothernomics mothers. I just leave you with that thought that I started out with, this 4,000% investment and supporting the life of one mother are one and the same thing. Each one of you can earn that 4,000% return by supporting that one mother. Thank you all so very much.